Mike Evans is the founder of the Friends of Zion Heritage Center, joining me for the Media Line today as Donald Trump is about to become the 47th President of the United States. Thank you.
It's my honor.
Mike, Donald Trump is going to be faced with tremendous pressure as he enters office. As we sit here today, the president is going to be signing 100 executive orders. Do you think that any of them involve Israel and the Middle East?
I don't think so, not on those executive orders. Those are significant issues, but not substantively as significant as the Middle East and the state of Israel. And he definitely has a plan for that.
Speaking of that, he was extremely vocal about getting the Israeli hostages out of Gaza. We saw that 3 of the young women were released yesterday, but many Palestinian prisoners were freed, many with blood on their hands. What do you think he's thinking long-term in terms of what's going to happen with Gaza?
Well, the day after he was elected, I did an interview with you, and I was extremely vocal on dealing with this before January 20th. And that's precisely what has happened. Why is it so important? Number one, this is a proxy of Iran. Israel has enormous success. They defeated the proxy Hezbollah. They destroyed the proxy in Syria. Hamas fundamentally is destroyed. About 95% of its head is gone and its armament is gone. And so Israel can't keep sustaining this war in Gaza. By the way, you can't destroy Hamas because it's an ideology. You don't kill an ideology with a bullet. It's going to take years and years to re-educate these people. Most of them in Gaza support and believe Hamas. So it's the right thing to do, even though it's very painful.
It doesn't mean that a month from now, 2 months from now, we're going to see that Gaza has strengthened, that Hamas has strengthened.
Not really. Number one, Donald Trump won't allow that. I believe what Donald Trump has told Prime Minister Netanyahu is if they break the deal, they'll have hell to pay. That he'll give Israel everything they need and tell them to finish the job. He's not going to allow there to be a terrorist state in Gaza. And by the way, he won't allow it with the Muslim countries either, that he'll want to support this.
So I'm glad you brought that up, talking about Iran. And Iran is really behind a lot of the problems we're seeing in the Middle East. A lot of the infrastructure in terms of even Iran has been cut off. But the core, the nuclear program, the weapons that they're still produced, they're there. What do you think Donald Trump will authorize to be done?
I think Donald Trump knows that sanctions won't work. You have a country that's making hundreds of billions of dollars a year off of oil. Oil is the power of Iran. Israel is going to have to strike the oil refineries, collapse the economy of Iran. They can do it in 72 hours. Iran has no missile defense now. They have no air force. And they can do it, and it's over. It's over. 85% of the population of 80 million hate the mullahs. The Shah was overthrown with an oil strike. So Israel's going to have to deal with the head of the snake. And they need to get Gaza dealt with so they can deal with the head of the snake.
You've spoken with the president, and looking at the region, there were other issues. Syria. It's amazing what happened in 12 days in Syria
Absolutely.
with al-Jawlani.
Yeah.
And we don't know where Syria is heading. Do you have any idea what President Trump is thinking along those lines?
Well, I think the president believes that Israel has done amazing things, accomplished amazing things, and is literally changing the dynamics of the Middle East. I told you on the last interview that President Trump is going to make peace with Saudi Arabia this year. It'll be the crown jewel. Now, when it will happen, and when it happens, all the Sunni world will join. Now, I believe he's going to bring Saudi Arabia into Gaza. Saudi Arabia has zero tolerance for terror. I met with the crown prince. He doesn't allow one mullah to give one message that they don't approve. So I believe you're going to have the Saudis in Gaza doing a massive re-education program, shutting all that media down, shutting that social network down, draining the swamp in re-education. You're also going to have a trust that is not gained by the Palestinians and corruption. And it's going to have to be independent of Gaza so it doesn't end up in the hands of Hamas. And oh, by the way, there's another thing, the countries. Qatar and past countries have funded Hamas. Donald Trump will give them hell to pay if they try this again. He'll put sanctions on them. So Hamas isn't going to get cash. The cash cow is gone in Syria.
Egypt's on the border, and there are problems, certainly many in the past, in terms of all the contraband, weapons, cars, money that entered Gaza. Do you feel that's sealed?
Listen, I know President Sisi very well, and Sisi can be part of the solution, not the problem. Sisi won't allow arms and weaponry to go into Gaza, and he can be enormous help to the United States and the state of Israel.
How far do you think President Trump will go? You know, we're talking also about Yemen and the Red Sea, and we discussed this before, but now it's literally at his doorstep. And will America get involved? Because he has explicitly stated he wants these wars off his table. He wants to focus on things like the Abraham Accords.
Listen, Issac Harel, the founder of Mossad, was one of my mentors. And I remember being with him and Menachem Begin, and he told me that Israel was the proxy of the United States to deter communism. This was in the early 80s. Now, Israel is the proxy of the United States to deter radical Islam. Donald Trump isn't going to go into war. He's an anti-war president. But he will give Israel everything they can conceivably need to finish the job and stop this insanity from going on.
2-state, 1-state, we've talked about this too.
I believe that Donald Trump will support the Mike Huckabee plan, which is sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, and also the David Friedman plan, which calls for the Puerto Rico model, where they don't have the right to vote, but they're still part of the United States. So I believe there's a solution, but I don't believe the solution is land for peace. I believe the solution is peace for peace. And it's an entirely different dynamic.
Is a solution viable if the other side is not interested in participating?
Well, number one, time is Israel's friend. Once Israel has resolved the Iranian crisis and has peace with Saudi Arabia, they're not going to have any power anymore. The radical Islamic machine that has used the media to fundraise like a Jerry Lewis telethon will have no power anymore. So they're going to wake up to a new reality. The funding will be gone for terror. So they're going to have to make a choice. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia told me, I waste my money on them. They need to copy Israel, not fight Israel. And that's precisely what they'll have to do. And time is Israel's friend. No matter how long it takes, you have an opportunity. Listen, we have 600,000 Palestinians plus living in America. None of them are terrorists. They're productive, they're intelligent, they're peace-loving people. These Palestinians in this region have to become like them.
Well, you say 600,000. There are Muslims, maybe not Palestinians, that have been involved over the years in terror attacks. It is the reality.
Yes.
But, you know, if you look at what you just said in terms of Saudi Arabia, there are many in Saudi Arabia that are around the king that still are not on tap. They're not saying that message. They are not saying what you're saying.
Well, I can tell you the Crown Prince is in charge now. The Crown Prince is the Prime Minister now and heir to the throne. He is in charge. And I've seen it with my own eyes. He has zero tolerance for anti-Semitism. He's pro-Israel than most Jews.
So my question to you is, why is he not taking that message to his people?
Well, he is. There's a lot more reforms going on in Saudi Arabia than people know. He is. And the president is very well aware of it. Jared Kushner is still engaged and very well aware of it. It's going to be fine for Israel. The future is bright for Israel. It's probably brighter than it's ever been because Israel has never had a solution to this terror dynamic. There is a solution now. I believe that.
Do you think the exchange in terms of the hostages was a deal that Israel had to take, with so many prisoners with blood on their hands being released?
Listen, it was bittersweet. Nobody can rejoice over seeing terrorists leave. But if you just think about one soldier, Gilad, one soldier that was exchanged for over 1,200 terrorists, including Senwar. Where is Gilad? He's living in Australia. Why? Because he was beat down to the point that he just couldn't survive under these circumstances. Israel needs time to heal. The country has never gone through post-traumatic stress. They're still going through the traumatic stress. The country has to heal. The economy has to get restored. People's lives have to get better. The future is going to be bright for Israel, but they can't keep this dance up with the devil. There has to be a solution, even though it's painful.
Do you envision any clashes coming up between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump? It's not been the relationship of recent that it was at one point.
Listen, I know both of the men very well. They're both pragmatic men. They're both extremely intelligent men. They both have the same heroes, Reagan and Churchill. They do like each other. They're very strong alphas, and there's no problem between the two of them. Donald Trump understands Benjamin Netanyahu. By the way, he admires him. He wished he could be the leader of America for 16 years. So he admires Benjamin Netanyahu. No, their relationship is rock solid. And you saw that just with Sarah down in Mar-a-Lago having dinner. How many wives of world leaders are doing that?
What concerns you most, Mike, when you look at what's happening in Israel? You have a dear love for Israel. Your heart is with Israel. And you look at what's about to go down. Judicial reforms are again up and active. You have a broken society. You have elections that can come about. What are your concerns?
Well, my concerns is the fragility of the Israelis now. I think they're suffering. Their tolerance for pain is very low right now, and they're getting limited information. Listen, the Abraham Accords happened because of Benjamin Netanyahu and a policy called TTP, Anti-Terror and Technology for Peace. He never took credit for that. He never even acknowledged that. But I knew it because I was meeting with the Muslim leaders. I knew it. So I think their tolerance right now is very low. And there's people with other agendas. Everyone has their own special interest group in Israel. And I think they want a prime minister to be the mayor. This is a world superpower, the state of Israel. Highly respected. You don't hardly have any enemies. Syria is gone. Iran is an enemy, and North Korea. There's not many nations that are enemies of Israel anymore.
Something's going to break. There's going to be a problem. There always is. What do you think that will be?
I don't really know. I think it's, the way the government goes and the way that these politicians try to game the populace. It's possible that you could have early elections. I don't know if there will be. I can know one thing. If they go, they're competing with the best political chess player on the planet, Benjamin Netanyahu. And they're all lightweights. So he's a pro at running elections. I think it'd be a mistake on their part to play that card and try to take down the government. I don't really know what's next. I only know that with Donald Trump for 4 years, Israel's future is extremely bright, and Donald Trump sees a window right now because of what Israel has achieved for real, genuine peace.
Geopolitically, Israel sits in a nation here, small, surrounded by many Arab nations. Some of them have been, I would say, isolated a little bit by what just went down in terms of Israel taking out in Hezbollah, taking out Hamas to some extent. But tomorrow, which we all are looking for tomorrow, you can see that Maybe there's a group in Syria that's going to rise up, and Turkey's going to push some kind of plan within Syria, and it's not going to be what we all imagined. That something will create more havoc in the region.
When you have a strong man like Donald Trump leading the global world order, all of the little devils tend to behave because they're frightened of a strong man. So right now, these little devils are going to try to behave. Listen, there was one pastor in prison in Turkey. Donald Trump put sanctions on Turkey and was going to bankrupt the country unless they released that Pastor Brunson. He's a strong man, and a lot of these little devils are going to try really hard to behave because they don't want the wrath of Donald Trump.
What do you anticipate happening in Iran politically?
Iran politically, I believe the population is going to overthrow the country once they're given the opportunity. And I believe that Israel can give them that opportunity.
Mike Evans, thank you so much for joining me at the Media Line and for sharing with me the first 100 days of what it's going to look like as President Trump takes office.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.